Now I've got a pretty fun pattern for you today. This is one of those that you can tie in any number of color combinations. And not counting the wire rib, it really only has two materials. Some small chenille, any color you want, and then some hen saddle hackle feathers, some soft saddle hackle. Now the pattern I'm talking about is the Mini Matuka. I found it in the Federation of Fly Fishers Pattern Encyclopedia, and I don't know who created this exact pattern, but we do know the Matuka came from New Zealand. It was created in the mid-1900s, and it was named after the bittern, which is a marsh-like bird in the heron family. And the Maori word for this bird was Matuka, and the first patterns tied like this used the feathers from a Matuka bird. Now we don't use the feathers from a bittern anymore, and Matuka has pretty much just come to mean a style of a wing. It's one with a feather along the top that's just bound, usually with a wire rib. Now this particular one, the Mini Matuka, it's tied a lot smaller than a typical streamer. I want to be tying this one on a size 12. But I could see this fly being a really versatile pattern for you. It could be a great panfish fly. I'm going to put a couple of them in my panfish box, but I'm really looking at it as a trout fly. And particularly in the waters I fish, I don't throw any big 6-inch long articulated streamers with a 2 or 3 weight here in Mountain, Maryland. So if you've never tied a Matuka style fly before, this is a great one to start with. Or for any of you seasoned tiers who are just looking for something that's easy to tie and not going to be very expensive, it doesn't use any exotic materials, but you know this thing is going to catch fish. A small streamer like this, probably a good one to have in your box. So there's one in the vise, a Mini Matuka. Now I'm kind of digging this red and natural color scheme, but the cool thing about this pattern is you can just mix any color you want. And the recipe does call for a size 14, but I think that was just a little bit too small. I mean, I want it small, but this is a 12, and I think a 12 is going to be small enough. And it also didn't say if you should weight it or not, but I am. The first one I tied without weight, and I think it just really needed some. So I'm going to put about a half a body length of 015 here. And I'm going to use black thread. This is a 70 denier. I'll put a little dam behind it and up in front of it, and then take it back to the start of the bend. Now the first thing I'm going to catch in is a wire rib. This is a size small. I would recommend a small, but I don't think it matters really what color you use. You're not going to see much of this rib. I mean, you might, I guess, depending on the chenille you use, but really it's just to hold this Matuka wing in. So after you catch in your rib, let's catch in the small chenille. Again, any color you want. I'm getting a little crazy with this one. That last one was a red and natural. This is going to be an orange and a green. So we'll see how it looks. Now take your thread on up to the front, not all the way to the eye because we do have a collar hackle. But let's go ahead and wrap this chenille up to the front. Now the next thing we're going to catch in, just 2 slips, 2 hen feathers, and this is a caddis green, so it kind of contrasts pretty neatly with that orange right there. And you want this about, 2 times the body length. We're going to strip off the bottom so we can catch it in Matuka style. And how much we strip off the bottom? It's just about a body length. So we got that right there. We want that to be, right down there at the back of that chenille. And what I do this with all my Matuka flies, just put a couple of wraps. We'll go with 3 right there to hold that in temporarily. And now we'll catch this in with the wire rib going forward. So what I do here, I need to pull that just a little bit farther back. I'm going to take my bodkin, I've got my wire positioned where I want to wrap that first wrap, and I just poke my bodkin through right there. And I create a little opening, and this is my first wrap right here. Now I move this forward just a little bit, not a whole lot, but up on this side where I want this next wrap to be, and then I poke my bodkin through on this where it's at right now, and I'll do this about 4 times going up forward. And now when you get up front, you can go ahead and release these wraps, and we'll catch the very front of it in with the wire, and then we'll catch the wire and these feather stems with our thread together here. Now before you go into the next step, you might want to just try to preen these up. You can lick your fingers and then try to get them remarried together again. And if they don't come back together, I wouldn't worry too much about it. And I have certainly mangled up this thread right here. So I'm going to spend a few loose wraps right here just trying to work through that nasty spot I created. And the last thing I want to catch in is going to be a collar hackle. Just another one of these caddis green feathers right here. And I'm going to catch this one in from the tip. So I will create a little tie-in point up front, just like that right there. And I think totally up to you how many wraps of this you want. Really depends on how heavily hackled you want this front. But I am going to grab my hackle pliers here and then just try to preen these back. And I think maybe 3 wraps will work. We'll see. Now let's see if we can sweep these back and get a neat looking head up here. Let's do a 3 or 4 turn whip finish and see if we have any cleanup. I think we're fine right there. I'm going to put a drop of head cement on this one and call it done. Now I'm kind of digging this green and orange color scheme. I might like the red natural just a little bit better, but that's the beauty of a fly like this. You can just pretty much do anything you want with the colors. So that's it, my friends. I appreciate you watching. Y'all take care, and we'll see you next time.